Mic check, life check. With Haley Jensen. Welcome back to another episode of Mic Check, Life Check. This week is honestly a recap week. This week was absolutely insane. I know I probably say that every week I do a week recap, but this week truly was insane. So insane in the fact that I don't know if we were going to survive the week, my husband and I. It honestly started pretty normal week-wise Monday. I woke up, I went to the gym, I came home, I got my toddler ready for the day. We headed out on our walk, and we walked and walked and walked, and we highly enjoyed that. And I went and checked the mail, and then I saw a 10 days till we sue you letter. Yeah, things got pretty interesting from there. So, some context. It was a debt collector's summoning letter that was stating that we owed a balance of, it was like $400, round up $500, and that we had 10 days to contact them to pay it, or else they would press for their attorneys to sue us. And I was so confused, for one, because normally with most, whether health visits or hospital stays, yada yada, I'm pretty well aware with the cost of each of them. Our insurance is pretty good in that regard, where we know up front the cost of most things. And so if we had in fact had any recent surgery or whatever, 9 out of 10 times I know the exact cost, what it's going to be. So any number would be very familiar to me for if we owed $400, $500. I know exactly recently what that would be for. But we've been pretty healthy lately and haven't had any surgeries in the last 6 to almost a year. I'm thinking, and I think the last mega hospital stay was a little after I had given birth. I think it was about like a month or two after, and I had some weird like intestinal issues, which, spoiler alert, I went to the ER, and I think it was just because I was honestly constipated, but I think it was like, anyway, I had some crazy stomach abdominal pain, and they ran all these like tests and labs, and even gave me like a blood something, I don't know, where they like dye your blood and then they do an MRI or something. Anyway, absolutely crazy. And I was in so much pain though. And the weirdest thing is that the pain came off the same way that contractions were, like when I was going into labor, they exhibited the same way, where they would just kind of feel the same, but in my abdomen. And it was honestly crazy. And I am not one to naturally go to the ER. I actually do everything against going to the ER, but I was in that much pain where I was like, I have to. And the weirdest thing that I guess nothing really prepares you for once you have given birth and you have a baby that you take care of is when you're in pain. And thankfully it was magically, I think it was the weekend, or I remember it was a holiday and we were going to have some friends over anyway. And that morning when all this pain, I was like, oh my gosh, something is seriously wrong. And in that kind of pain anyway, you just hope it's like not your gallbladder or something like that is really concerning. And so anyway, sorry, I'm tangenting a lot, and that's okay. But long story short, I went to the ER. I think it was just that I was very constipated because my hormones were all over the place because of having a baby, and I probably just needed to drink more water, and I don't know. It was insane. But they gave me some meds to help, I guess, push things through, maybe. I don't know. / help with pain and whatever. And so that was that story. But anyway, point being, though, is I knew going into the ER how much it was going to cost. I think it was like $300 or maybe a little less. Which was honestly fantastic for most insurances, I'd say. But yeah, obviously not fun to pay up front, but at least I knew exactly what it was. This, however, back to the story, I had no idea what this was. I was like, what? I'm so confused. What is this bill from? And so I'm looking in the context of it, and through today's story time regarding all of this, obviously I'm going to keep all the businesses and everything very anonymous because, one, I just want to do that. Two, I just want to do that. Anyway, so we continue. So I'm looking at the business and I'm like, oh, this is a tooth surgery place because my husband had had a root canal, not anytime this year, not last year, not the year prior, but in 2022. And this is when had only been married, I'd say, for 2 years. And before we had moved to where we are living now, this was before I was even pregnant. This was before a lot of things. And that was when he had had this root canal. And keep in mind, both of us, I'd say, are pretty good with like our dental hygiene. And so when he had this root canal, it was pretty crazy that he even needed it. And yeah. Anyway, I remember taking care of him because one, I was married, and two, like, that's what you do as a spouse usually. But I remember driving him there, like, basically, air quote, holding his hand throughout the process and being very aware of all of the pain he was in right before we were able to get him kind of emergency scheduled for this root canal. And yeah, so during the time that he had all this pain, I just remember him texting me all day, 48 hours into almost like probably 3 or 4 days prior to it, because he was in so much pain. And I was just calling not this root canal place where they do it, because it's an outpatient kind of surgery place, but his actual dentist, because obviously his dentist had looked at it and was suggesting for him to get the root canal. And I don't even know how it works, but anyway, that's not his actual dentist, but a different doctor specialist that does this root canal thing. And so anyway, back then we obviously wanted to get him in as soon as possible, and that's great and dandy. But of course, we were very proactive with our insurance and how that was going to play out. But the tricky spot is, of course, at this time, my husband was still on his parents' insurance as a secondary, because he had his own job and had a primary insurance, but because he was under 26, he was still on his parents' insurance to an extent. I guess it's just something that they offer because it's an added benefit that if for some reason your first primary insurance doesn't cover something 100%, then it can be obviously sent to your secondary insurance. It's a lot of grown-up things that you only learn once you have to deal with them. So anyway, fast forward. He has the root canal. He is no longer in pain. Amazing, wonderful. And we thought everything is fine and dandy. So, like I said, that was 2022. Fast forward. So I get this letter in the mail and I'm looking at it and I'm slowly connecting the dots. And I'm like, wait, what? I don't even remember. And at the time, I didn't even remember what year that had occurred. I was thinking about it. I was like, was this when I was dating my husband? Because it was that long ago. I honestly had no idea. And so then my husband was really stressed out with some other things going on in life. And so I was honestly nervous to text him about it because I knew this was just going to absolutely just destroy whatever existing stress he had and multiply it by tenfold. And so the unfortunate thing is that he had all the answers to my questions because he probably had it on his calendar. I looked, but I didn't have it written down in my Google Calendar, but I knew that he probably did for when he had the root canal, and so that he could search it and whatever. And so, yeah, this is when things got really fun because I ended up calling the root canal place because it had their business name on the document, and that's not the place that sent me the basically this summons of I'm going to sue you, because that's the debt collector. And so, but it had the name of the business that the debt collector had bought the debt. Yeah, super confusing. I remember hearing this years ago on TikTok. People have their own theories of, oh, if they sell your information to a debt collector, you have no obligation to pay them and blah, 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 blah. It will hurt your credit or it won't hurt your credit. Everyone has something different to say, and that's what I'd say makes it all the more stressful. But obviously, as adults and law-abiding good citizens that my husband and I are, we, one, don't want our credit affected because we've worked hard to have good credit, and we definitely don't want to be sued. So fast forward, like I said, I called the root canal place because I was like, all right, they should have some answers. Is this like, real? Like, what is going on? Because last time I checked, we had that root canal and we had it go through our insurance, and we probably paid for it. Okay, yeah, that's the magic word here, probably. And keep in mind, it wasn't that we were lazy. It wasn't that we were avoiding to pay, because, like I said, we always pay our medical scenarios as soon as they occur, usually, or as soon as we get the bill for them. So this wasn't me naturally just like, oh, wow, the magical existence of this root canal that's expensive was taken care of by the root canal fairy. No, I naturally assumed that we had paid for it, or got a bill, or paid for it on site, or I don't know. One of us had taken care of it, and my brain, honestly, I have ADHD, so things that aren't important, they leave my brain immediately and are gone forever. And so, naturally, I was just thinking that it was taken care of. So I call the place, and I say, hi, it's me. I am calling on behalf of my husband's account because he had a root canal years ago. I can't even remember how long ago. And maybe you can tell me. And we just got a court, threatening to sue us letter that we have a balance. Is this true? So this is when all the fun starts. So this is secretary number 1 of the root canal place. She was nice. She was sweet. She was doing her secretary job. However, I knew the second I started to talk to her and her responding that she obviously has gone through this a couple times / she had learned her lesson pretty quick in past experiences to keep her mouth shut, because she immediately just says, okay, yeah, so I'm gonna have you speak to the girl that has your account file. And I'm like, huh? And so she basically was alluding to that this situation was already being looked at. And I don't know if that was because there was a note on the account and something, yada, yada, yada. And so I would say I'm a pretty confrontational person when it comes to situations like this, because I wanted to know what's up. Because, okay, so you're telling me there is an issue, but you won't tell me in what regard, or why is this years later happening. And so I'm poking the bear a little bit to get some more information one way or another. And she's just like, I'm sorry, like I said, I'm not in charge of your case file. She'll know more about it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, but is there like something on the account that says what's going on? And so then that's when she, I guess, she probably was a little nervous, and so she wanted to give a tiny bit more information, maybe shut me up, I don't know. And so then she's like, well, it says that it looks like there was an issue with maybe an insurance wasn't uploaded or something, which at the end of the story, and now telling this, that's super ironic, but I'll tell you at the end for why. But anyway, so I was like, okay. And even with that general small knowledge, that's not our problem. That's the provider, the root canal place, that they obviously did not upload the insurance. Okay. With giving the grace of that it could be our fault would be we didn't provide the insurance, but I know for a fact we did, because I remember we did. I remember filling out the form, adding that there was a secondary insurance, yada, yada. I just vaguely remember that part and making sure that it was known, because that was a big deal, especially like if you go to even your dental office, they usually ask you every single time, oh, are you with the same insurance, blah, 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 blah. And you say, yeah, and stuff like that. So I don't know. When I first heard that, I was wondering if it was because the secondary insurance was screwed up. But all in all, even just hearing that, I was just like, okay. And so I, of course, was told that I needed to speak with this other billing girl that was to be in charge of my account. So let's call her billing girl number 1. That's great. So I'm just like, okay, yeah, that's fine, receptionist number 1. I will happily talk to billing girl number 1. Can I do that? And she's like, she's busy right now. I'll have her give you a call in an hour. That's when she'll be available. I'm like, okay, great. Yeah, let's do that. So within that hour, I take it upon myself to obviously touch base with my husband about all this, and that because I sent him a picture at this point, and he sees that we're being threatened to be sued, which is great because we don't usually cross into that territory very often, actually, ever. And so he's freaking out when he's already stressed out with other things in life, and so that's great. And so then I'm freaking out because I know this is just ridiculous given the fact that the receptionist let slip that it was something that the insurance wasn't uploaded, and that's not on us. And so I go down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out which way is up and which way is down. And like I said, because it was years and years ago, I'm just trying to pull into my brain because we had switched insurances and different jobs, and things are different every couple of years or so. And so I'm doing my fancy Nancy detective skills, and I call the insurance that I had believed that we were associated with at the time, and that was because my husband had told me which one he thought it was. And so I called okay, we're gonna call it secondary insurance, because that was the one that my husband was part with his family. And so I called that one first because I'm like, okay, that one must be the problem because the secondary insurance wasn't uploaded correctly. And so I just want to see if they ever got touched base with the root canal place, if they ever got a bill from them to try to run the claim or whatever. And so I end up talking to, you got it, secondary insurance girl number 1. And she was nice. She was pretty helpful. And she had just said, no, actually, we did receive a attempt to run a claim from the root canal place. However, it was declined because here's your next vocabulary word or words, that the primary or the root canal place did not send the explanation of benefits, which is basically the fancy legal explanation for why a provider is requesting to run the insurance or get it approved for the claim, aka the balance and whatever procedure costs. I don't know. It's basically the explanation for why they want you to run the insurance. And so it always comes as a package deal. The claim is one thing, the explanation of benefits. And if you're listening and you've ever worked in insurance, you're probably laughing right now because I have barely just been able to understand all of this. So regardless, I keep going. So talking to secondary insurance because I'm just trying to figure out if they had ever received it. But no, they said that they received an attempt to run a claim, but they never received the buddy pair document, which is the explanation of benefits. And so I was like, okay, so that makes sense that the note on the account was correct, that a part of the insurance was not uploaded correctly, because the insurance is even saying that. And so I've already got my answer at this point where, all right, the root canal place screwed up. That's unfortunate, but at least I know that's the truth. And so I'm just even pestering this poor secondary insurance girl, number 1, and saying like, okay, I'm just trying to make sure that I have all the correct answers here before I go accusing the root canal place of being the sole problem, which they were. And so she's agreeing, and she's like, yeah, like it would be one thing if there was just maybe a miscommunication, but it was clearly that we had asked for them to send the explanation of benefits and they did not, because I do not have that on record here. And the reason why that the claim was declined or denied was not because we didn't want to fulfill it or cover it as an insurance, but because we didn't have that explanation of benefits. And so that was clear as day for me. And then I was like, okay, well, let me figure out if it was just this insurance or the other insurance. So I called the primary insurance and I talked to, thankfully, just one representative. So primary insurance girl number 1. Yeah, they were all girls, actually. I was like, wait, were any of them guys? No, they were all girls. So I ended up talking to the primary insurance girl and running the whole scenario by her. And she was wonderful because she was able to look at it, because I, at this point in time, had the date of the root canal, I guess, procedure, probably the same day that the claim was filed or whatever. And so she was able to find it very quickly. And she said, hey, yeah, we did receive that. We processed it. We did the insurance split as we were supposed to, and we sent the remainder back to the provider. And so if you're confused, that's totally fine. That's how that works. Usually they'll cover half or whatever, and then the patient will cover the remainder, unless, of course, they have a lovely secondary insurance, which is where this story is obviously goes apart, because the provider is unfortunately the middleman. That is not the job of the patient. It is the provider, aka the root canal place. And so it was then their job to upload the remaining balance to the secondary insurance to have them attempt to cover the rest, or whatever part I guess they wanted to cover. Insurance is weird, man. Anyway, so they sent the rest of the claim, but they did not send the explanation of benefits. And so that is why, of course, we are in the predicament that we are. And so I was still calling people left and right. I actually called my brother, and then ergo my mom was around or something like that. And that was just because I wanted to pick their brain if they had dealt with any of this with insurances. I like to talk to people with experience and have a crack at it, But unfortunately, they did not. So that was great. But anyway, so after talking with the primary insurance girl, though, she was very helpful, not just because she had confirmed that they had received the claim, but she gave some good advice. So when I talked to the Select Health girl number 1, she had said the chances of them, even if for some reason the root canal place would re-upload the explanation of benefits years later, the chances of them covering any of it would be very, very low, because it would fall outside of the 1 year that they give you, I guess, as a time frame to submit whatever. So naturally it would probably be declined. And so I'm just like, okay, well, great. I love this, but maybe because they're in the wrong, the root canal place will still own up to it and do what's right. I don't know. So I was still trying to figure out just all the information. And so when I was talking to the primary insurance girl and I mentioned that, I'm just like, well, I don't know if this is all for no reason, because we're many years outside of this time frame. And the primary insurance girl was just like, well, I mean, I don't know about the other insurance, but most insurance, they have 1 year, yes, maybe even a 2 year. However, every insurance will have an appeal process that you can appeal something for them to look into it. And it's basically an investigation for something that's maybe not conventional or yada yada. It has to be taken seriously. And I'm like, oh, that gives me a lot of hope, because this is unconventional. This is nothing as me, the patient, or not even me, my husband, but had any sort of control for. We were not informed that it didn't go through. I think naturally we just thought it was 100% covered by the secondary insurance. And so we are just like, okay, well, and when I say we, I mean me. I'm just thinking that, okay, well, then let's just shoot for the concept of taking this to an appeal, because that sounds like that's kind of our only option. And I think that's the best case scenario for everyone. So keep in mind, this is all during the air quote hour that I'm waiting for this billing girl number 1 to call me back, or supposedly call me. And the kicker is I have a toddler during this time. Yes, I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I have a toddler. So before I called the secondary insurance for the first time, I had been walking around with my toddler outside while talking to my brother. Before I'd gone outside, I'd called the root canal place. Like, I am just trying to raise a toddler at the same time, which is really fun. But when I had called the root canal place and they said that they were going to call me back, I was like, okay, this timing works out well, because in an hour, my toddler will be put down for a nap. So my toddler was put down for a nap while I was actually on the phone calling the secondary insurance girl for the first time. So that was fun. But anyway, I made it work. Toddler wasn't super happy about it. He knew that I was stressed and distracted, and you gotta love that. Like, kids just know. So anyway, he ended up sleeping a lot shorter than he usually does. That's a whole other story, but that's because, once again, they just know when you're stressed too. And I felt bad because I was like, oh no, I ruined your nap. I'm sorry. Anyway, back to the story. I'm doing all this while waiting for billing number 1 to text me back. Or not text me back, call me back. Call me at all, actually. And so I'm just like, okay, whatever. And so at this point, the primary insurance gal was like, hey, don't worry about it. You can do an appeal or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, let's give that a try. So then I was still just a little confused by a couple of things. So, and also because the secondary insurance girl, number one, she had not informed me that there was an appeal or even a 2-year or whatever. So then I'm like, okay, let me call the secondary insurance again, and I'll talk to a different representative, which is kind of nice. Lovely words of advice. If you're ever in a situation like this, call and talk to a different representative, because sometimes you get a lot more information and things can go a lot better. So, and honestly, that's the best advice for Amazon returns too. If you ever do their text bot chat, if you get someone that's like, no, you can't return it, just wait for it to time out and they'll get you a new person. And 9 out of 10 times they'll be like, oh yeah, sure, go ahead, return it. So, fun fact for you, give it a try. If you, I don't know, that's common knowledge, but if you didn't know, now you know. Anyway, so then I'm just like, okay, well, I'm waiting for this girl anyway, let me call the secondary insurance. So I do. And I talked to secondary insurance girl number 2, who was even more of a sweetheart. The first girl was all right, but the second girl was such a sweetheart. She felt so bad. I told this dang story to probably 10 different people by the end of all the adventures of it. But so yeah, I was telling the whole situation, and every single time all the insurance representatives, they were like, I am so sorry. That's awful. Like, that's annoying. Like, I mean, maybe they're just saying that to make me feel better, but they genuinely sounded like they would hate to be in this situation, which I obviously love to be in the situation. Sarcasm. And so here we were. But the secondary insurance girl number 2 was saying, oh, yeah, we do have a 1 year. And then there's kind of like a 2-year thing that they'll look into. I don't know. It's quite confusing to me. But anyway, and so I'm like, well, we are even more so out of the 2-year stretch. And she's like, yeah, I know. But sometimes if it's like close, they'll just categorize it as a 2-year. And I'm like, okay, math ain't mathing, but whatever. And so then I was like, okay, but then this other girl mentioned an appeal, and like, yeah, it was from a different insurance or whatever, but she was saying that all the insurance, and she's like, yeah, so that's the nice thing, is that even if we're way out and they don't want to consider it as a 2-year or plus, then you're just wanting to line it up to be declined again so that you can appeal it. And I'm like, okay. So now with this knowledge, all while waiting to talk to billing girl number 1, I am like, okay, at least I have some good things in my arsenal of knowledge, I guess, in regards to how I want things to go forward. Because at this point, before I talk to these people, all I know is that I have some mysterious big old number of debt that I apparently need to pay off from years and years ago. So instead, I am like, okay, wait, no, but you screwed up, and I shouldn't have to, not that I shouldn't have to pay it, but that we need to upload this correctly so that we can give the secondary insurance a chance to look at it, cover it, or even deny it, so then I can appeal it. Which begs the further question of something that I had asked, I believe it was the secondary insurance girl too, actually, that, because I was concerned, because I was like, okay, so this is all fun, happy, dandy, that I want them to appeal it, and yada, yada, yada. However, we aren't even remotely with this insurance still. This is an insurance we haven't talked to or hung out with as friends since 2022. And so I asked her, I was like, how does that work? Like, I don't even have a membership number or anything with you guys. And like, we haven't been active members. And so she's like, that's the best thing, is that even if you guys aren't, if we're looking at whatever claim, as long as you were paying and active customers then, and that's the time period for it, it is considered active and we will look at it and cover it. I'm like, that's so weird and magical to me, but like, okay. It made me happy. And then the other, okay, wait, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. So we keep going. So at this point in time, I had called 3 different times to different insurances just to get all the facts, but I'm feeling pretty good because from what I'm understanding, I just need to have the root canal place, upload the explanation of benefits to the secondary insurance, and we can go from there. It seemed pretty easy, right? Cool. So then here we are an hour and a half later, and keep in mind, my child is napping, my toddler, and when he naps well, which he has been lately, which is a miracle in itself, he usually sleeps about 2 hours, and it's his one nap a day, or 2.5 if we're really lucky. And like I said, he went down for his nap and he knew I was stressed out. And so he was stressed out. So I was looking at his camera. He woke up after 25 minutes. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, please. Of all days. Thankfully, he wasn't screaming or anything. I think he was just kind of confused. And so he ended up just kind of like laying down and sitting up every now and then, but he wasn't crying or anything. So I think he was just like trying to figure out what's going on. So I think later he fell asleep. His head was away from the camera, but he was laying down. So I think he fell asleep. But anyway, that was another facet of all these heightened emotions, because I'm freaking out because I'm like, my toddler better be sleeping. And then on top of that, I'm waiting by the phone in the time that I'm not on the phone with insurance and just saying, okay, where's the spilling girl number 1? She said that she's going to call me, or was told that she's going to call me. And I haven't showered. Usually I showered during my toddler's nap. And so I'm sitting by the phone waiting for a phone call that I feel like I can't try to call the root canal place because I was instructed that I was going to get a call. So even if I were to call, it wouldn't be to this chick. It would be to the receptionist again. And so now it's like an hour and 40 minutes gone by when I was told it was going to be within like the hour. And then I'm just like, well, okay, I guess I will call. And so I call the root canal place, talk to the receptionist again. She's like, oh, okay, yeah. So apparently it wasn't that girl. It was a different girl, a different billing chick that is looking at your case. So I'm like, oh, that's funny. Because anyway, so the last time that I had talked to the receptionist, she had said that this first billing girl's hours were that she was going to be gone by 2 p.m. and that was that she needed to call me before then. Yeah. So then now this other girl's there till 4:30 or 5. I don't even know. And so then I'm like, okay. And so then she's like, okay, now this girl's going to call you and this is the appropriate girl. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm just like, all right, well, here's my number. And yeah. So now I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go run and shower and hope that my kid doesn't wake up if he's asleep, maybe. And yeah, so I go do that. My phone I never have the ringer, the sound on my phone ever. My phone's always on vibrate. But for this specific day, I was next to it, ringer on, waiting for it to make any sudden movements. And yeah, and that was even when I was showering. Like, it was right next to the shower door and I was staring at it. And anyway, so that was fun. Did I receive a phone call for the rest of the consecutive workday? No. Did my husband get home from work and I am looking at the clock and I know that the root canal place's office closes within the following 20 minutes as I hear that my husband gets home from work, and I decide to call them because I need an answer for the fact that I am stressed out beyond my life, and my husband is too. So I'm just trying to get some answers because we have a ticking time bomb of being sued in T-minus, actually, fun fact, not 10 days, but 5 days, because we hadn't checked our mailbox for a hot minute because we weren't expecting anything. And so because of that, we weren't expecting anything whatsoever. And so it just had been a couple days since we checked our mail. But no, so it was postmarked like 5 days previous to when I had opened it. So now we're looking to be sued in 5 days. And so, yeah, I was emergency calling the root canal place. And so I call them and I get voicemail. The earlier times, because I'd called them twice before, and I had not gotten voicemail or whatever. And maybe it was the end of the day and things were busy. Somebody was hanging around talking. I don't know. But I get the voicemail. I'm like, okay, I see how it is. You guys know who is calling and you don't want to talk to me. And that's great. And keep in mind, was I passionate on the phone with the receptionist? Yes. Probably a very stressed, passionate concern, but I wouldn't say I was yelling or like an absolute Karen or anything. I don't know, maybe they think I was, but I think that's probably a pretty appropriate reaction for anyone thinking that they're going to get sued over something that happened from many, many years ago. So, not sure. But anyway, so I called I get voicemail. I leave a 4-minute voicemail just recapping the situation, just in case anyone that is not familiar with the situation is going to be listening to this voicemail. And so I just recap it very quickly, and I just say, "Hi, it's me. I am calling because I have actually called multiple insurances times to figure out what the heck is going on. And apparently, all you guys got to do is upload the explanation of benefits to the secondary because they reported that you did not do that and that they sent that back and that was your job, but you didn't send it back. And that is why I'm in the mess that I am in. Can we please do that? Thank you. You'd think it would be so easy, right? Yeah. Wrong. So I send that as my husband gets home from work. We have 2 dogs. Dogs are barking like everyone is so stressed out. My toddler's awake. He's running around being crazy. And yeah, my husband is stressed out with work stuff. And so then, yeah, and also the cherry on top is that my toddler had locked the garage door. So I had run upstairs to just get into a quiet room because I knew that my husband would be walking through the front door and my toddler would naturally run to go say hi to him and whatever. But I needed to make that phone call before they closed, and so I ran upstairs, gated myself away from the dogs and the toddler, because I thought that, of course, the toddler and the dogs would go see my husband. My toddler apparently at some point during the day had locked the garage door, so my husband could not get in the house that way. I mean, he has a house key on his with his keys. Along with that, he can automatically unlock our door and stuff like that from his phone, and yeah. So anyway, like, he was fine, but in just the situation of everything, quite ironic. Anyway, that just add more fuel to the fire. And so anyway, so then he eventually gets in, but keep in mind now our dogs think that someone's breaking in the front door because it's just not a conventional way that my husband comes in. And so it is just beyond chaotic in our house. And so then I end up calling. So I had left a voicemail. So actually when I went upstairs, this was because I was trying to call them. I had called them once more after, I think it was like 5-10 minutes after I left the voicemail. So this was probably like 10 minutes to close for them, or 20 minutes to close. And then it was 10 minutes to close, and I called them one more time because I'm like, they have to answer. Come on. So then I talked to, I don't think it was a receptionist, but maybe like a manager of sorts of the root canal place. Manager number 1. And manager number 1, actually, I ended up talking to a lot the following day. She was very helpful. If any of these people ever hear it, it's with love. It was a very tricky situation. But anyway, so she was like, "Hi." And she, keep in mind, she was not billing girl number 1 or 2. She was manager number 1 from the root canal place. And so manager number 1 says, "Hi." And I kind of laugh, and I'm a little lighthearted about it. I'm like, "Hi, you probably know exactly who I am. I am just calling because I don't want to get sued in 5 days." And we were stressed out too because of the fact that if you have a debt and it's sent to collections, that it hits your credit, and that's just awful and can take 7 years to get off your credit, and it's just a whole thing. And so I'm very emotional about all this and just stating where we're at. And so anyway, so then this wasn't, I just remembered, this is not manager number 1. This was a different manager. We'll call them manager 0.5. I talked to so many people throughout this process. It's insane. We'll call this, manager 0.5. So I hadn't talked to her. I'd never met her before. And I'm just lightheartedly like, "Hi, haha, you don't know me, but you probably actually do because you probably heard about it from your coworkers." And so she proceeds to almost kind of gaslight me a little bit. And I know for a fact this was not true. Either it was they were putting in maybe the phone number as a 7 as a 1 or a 1 as 7. I don't know. But anyway, so she's like, "Oh, no. So actually, billing girl number 2 has tried to call you like 5 times today. Yeah, she told me. She has it on her phone log right here. I'm looking at it." And I'm like, "You're joking." I've had my phone on all day. I've been staring at my phone more than anything else, just waiting for it to ring. I have my call log too. There's no way that she called me. And so then I'm like, "Okay, yeah. Nope, I don't know what number that would be." And then I swear she was gaslighting me. Like I said, I am not here to throw anyone under the bus, but I swear in the heat of the moment, it felt like it. Anyway, so then I was just like, well, I guess there's a small chance it could have been my husband's number because he was the one with the actual root canal. But I had listed my phone number to the receptionist, I'm pretty sure multiple times for who to call. And so I'm not sure why there's confusion. Plus you obviously have caller ID because you ignored me and sent me to voicemail. I know this to be true. And so I was just bamboozled in regards to what the heck was going on with this whole, oh, she called me 5 times, did she? Weird. Because I checked that with my husband when he got home later, and he had not received a single call either. The only thing that I could possibly imagine was that maybe it was my husband's mom, that she was probably listed as an emergency contact on some form. But anyway, so fast forward, I'm obviously very passionate about this. I feel like she's gaslighting me, but I don't know if she truly was just like, this is the facts. You might be crazy because this is the facts. She definitely called you. Like, that's her version of not gaslighting, but it felt like gaslighting. Anyway, so then she's like, okay, like, and I don't know if she had maybe somebody else show up in the room because she got a lot quieter and a little bit more like caring. I don't know what changed because her tone changed like almost overnight immediately. I was like, what? While I was on the phone with her, and she said, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We open at 8 a.m. So we'll call you sometime before 8 to 9, which that was funny in itself because we'll see in a second here why. But anyway, and we'll figure this out. I promise. We've been talking about this, and we're just gonna figure out what's going on. I'm like, okay. And I took that because that made me feel a little bit better. It made me feel like they were taking this seriously because obviously it's very frustrating because when it's not happening to you, I understand you're not going to feel emotional or passionate about it, or the fact that you will not have to deal with said consequences of being sued. And so it's obviously very frustrating to be that person. And yeah, so I mean, obviously I was happy that there was a step in the right direction of it being resolved. And so yeah, so then obviously me and my husband are beyond stressed out. We are talking through everything, and without throwing my husband under the bus because I love him so much, out of the two of us, I am a lot better with confrontation. It's just in my blood. But the other part of it is that my husband was obviously caught up in a lot of work stuff, but he also was looking at the letter at face value and be like, okay, well, do we have to just pay this and move on with our lives? Like, and he was freaking out because of the credit, hitting our credit. And because we should have been, one, informed if it was ever going to be remotely sold to a debt collector, because that's when it gets bad. But we weren't even informed about any of this, and that's why it was the most stressful. But yeah, he was the most upset about the credit. And so, because there's not much you can do with that, despite the money balance or owed, and even despite being sued. And so I'm just pointing out all the research that I had done all day and saying that, okay, but here are the facts. This was nothing on us. There's nothing that we could have done. And actually, one of the points that the secondary insurance girl number 1 had said was that, okay, there's something definitely wrong with this billing, because if we had processed it, even declined it, and we did have the explanation of benefits, then we would have sent you a notice that we had declined it and that there was a balance still owed, if it was all done correctly, right? But she said that they did not send out that explanation to us because they couldn't, because they didn't have all the puzzle pieces that needed for them to have in order to move forward of the closed chapter of the book kind of thing. And so I had explained that. That was one of the many explanations to my husband of just like, okay, so we're still not in the wrong. This is not our fault. And so that helped in the moment feel a lot better. But I was pretty aware of how I would imagine things were about to go on the phone call, whatever that looked like the next day. The other thing that, before we get into the ending of the story here, but I was telling my husband, I was just like, hey, this business is a private practice. And quite honestly, for a doctor, $400, $500 is a drop in the bucket. That is just they took their employees out to lunch for them. Like, it's not a big deal. And I think that they are going to protect their butt a lot more and their reputation than wanting to be right about something from years ago. and not even being right, but like being lazy and trying to gaslight that we're incorrect when in reality it was totally on them and their fault. And so I was really explaining that to my husband, but it's hard because it's like, I don't know that if that's what they're going to choose to do. But because I had only talked to receptionists and managers at this point, and the owner of the practice, the guy with the name on the building, he actually wasn't the one involved. I don't even remember how it works, if it was a different doctor, dentist, whatever, that works under him, or if the other guy that did actually did the procedure, that if he rents, I don't even know. But all I know is that it also ties into the building that has the guy's name of the main doctor guy or whatever. Anyway, so no matter what happens, that's what I was just trying to explain, that the owner doesn't want that to reflect on his business. And obviously, I could in turn out to be a very passionate, air quote, Karen, and write bad reviews, get people involved, make it known. And if I was that person, I wouldn't want that to be done, especially for 2025 antics. And so I was just saying that to my husband, and unfortunately it's just hard because, I mean, I was doing a lot of the research. I had a lot of the knowledge, so he didn't have as much of it. I was explaining it to him as I went, but like a lot of it was texting, and then even more so that his brain was already on fire pretty much from work. And so it was just super messy. And then, so anyways, the last thing of that day/night was just that, okay, we have a phone call in the morning. So, which is funny because as we are all very familiar with my morning routine, I get up at 4 to go to the gym. So the best part is we got to go to bed. I wake up and I have all this time before 8 a.m., 4 hours, of dwelling on a conversation with what I'd like to say a bunch of adults, because I'm an adult, but I feel like a younger adult. I'm 26, but I feel like these people have been in the business occupation for many, many years and dealt with insurance and whatever. And I'm just looking at it all with just a, hi, this is what I'm dealing with for the first time in my adult life of, hey, potentially being sued. And so I'm just taking it all with a grain of salt pretty much, but also being very emotionally concerned as well. So here we are, 8 a.m. the next day, and I'm really nervous because my husband, he has to go to work, and so I normally would probably have him stick around and be a part of the phone call, but he just, work stuff was crazy. And so I'm just like, all right, I will figure this out. I've been doing it so far, like, whatever. But keep in mind, my toddler is still with me. So I am trying to put some unique toys for him to play with. I have snacks ready to go, and I am just waiting for this place to call. So it gets to be about 8:40, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to call them. And keep in mind, I'm bringing this up because I didn't want to be the obnoxious, harassing Karen, but it's just like, come on, guys, you said you were gonna call at 8. And yeah. So anyway, so I called. I talked to the real manager number 1. I explained everything, and she also was just saying like, hey, I'm not the billing manager number 2. But I've been talking to her. And then one of the 2 or 3 things that she said that, oh my gosh, settled my heart and my emotions, that I immediately texted my husband too. But she's just like, okay, so I am very familiar with what's going on, and as well as that we have included the owner now in all of the situation. And I heard that, and I was like, oh my gosh, hallelujah chorus was playing, that the owner is now involved. And that is incredible because, like I said, he's going to look at this and be like, you have to be kidding me. This feels like high school drama at this point. Like, he said, she said, I don't care. Just let's move along and get over this stupid situation. And so I heard that on 1, and I was just so elated. But anyway, so I'm talking to this manager, and so she said that. But then the second thing, because she was like trying to tell me, and I don't want to use the word gaslighting, but she basically said that she'd worked insurance in the past, and she's like, I hope you know, like, and she was trying to tell me as someone that's never worked in this or dealt with this scenario remotely. She's like, even if we do process and upload this, blah, 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 they're going to deny it. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I have to do this to appeal it. So And she's like, no, I hope you realize, like, it's if it's outside of a year, they're not going to do it. I'm like, and she was like, oh, well, I hope you know, like, insurance does absolutely everything to not pay it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't care. Like, we'll move on and we're going to appeal. And so I think she was trying to be nice, given that she didn't want me to come across any surprises in the future. But it was the fact that I had done so much research, talked to so many insurance people, that I was just like, I don't care. Like, please help me, help me, help you, help me. And anyway, so then I am just like, please, why can't we just upload this? This is so... And the weird thing is that I think she was kind of stalling me, this manager, because, I mean, she was doing it politely, because the actual billing manager number 2 that I was supposed to talk to, who apparently called me 5 times, yada, 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 which, fun fact, manager number 1 that was stalling said that she gave me the phone number and it was my phone number. And I'm like, that's bonkers. And I told her why, because I'm like, I literally spent my entire day waiting for a phone call and I don't have anything on my call log, so I don't know what the heck's happening, but okay. Anyway, back to the story. So then the manager was saying that because she was informing me about all the insurance stuff, she was saying that, well, even if we send the explanation about benefits, they're probably going to throw it out and we only send it once. So then she's making it sound all scary that, like, if I screw up, she's like, well, what do you want me to upload it with? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, the secondary insurance said to upload the secondary benefits. So I don't know. I was a little annoyed at this point, because I'm just like, you guys are the ones that do this as a business all the time. You should know if you need to upload it one way or another, or in a special manner. I don't know. Like, I thought this is your job and your livelihood, but whatever. And so I'm just like, okay, well, if you can truly only upload it one time, and that's what she was saying, that I'm like, well, if you're stalling me anyway, and I didn't say that. I just said, well, if we're waiting for this billing girl anyway, I can go call the secondary and ask them what they want it to be uploaded with. She's like, okay, yeah, maybe that's a good idea. But then she, like, changed her mind, I think, around right in the same breath, because she's like, oh, okay, so here's actually the billing girl number 2. Let me talk to her. I'm going to put you on hold. I'm like, that's totally fine. Like, and that's the thing, is that throughout all of this, I was obviously very frustrated and passionate and whatever, but I never said I would never say that, like, I lost it or was rude or anything. I don't know, if anything, I was just very intensely like, I am so concerned, obviously for the right reasons. But so anyway, then I go on a hold and I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. And I'm texting my husband the updates while my toddler is toddling around and picking up things and moving them around everywhere. So my house is a disaster as well, which is cherry on top of the situation. But anyway, so then the girl comes back and she's like, okay, so so the other thing I forgot real quick was the other half of this is that I am so stressed out about the whole check on the credit, or the credit, whatever thing, check. It's not a credit check. The credit hit, the hit on our credit. That's what it is. And so I had explained that to this girl that was kind of stalling me or entertaining my questions, I guess. And so I was telling her all this, and I'm like, and my biggest concern is, like, I'm fine if we have to pay you. Like, that's not totally what it is about. Like, obviously it's really dumb. Like, we would have paid you back in 2022 if we had to, if the secondary declined or whatever. But, like, that's not the issue. It's that we now have a credit hit. All right. So up until this point, I am beyond stressed out about this credit thing. So then the manager said the most beautiful words that I've ever heard. And she said, okay, so I know you're really passionate about this, so I want to actually ease your mind about something. I'm like, I'm listening. And she said, I know this for a fact because I've had many kids in and out of hospitals, and just so you know, and she had to say this twice because I swear I didn't hear her the first time because I was so intensely listening. It's like my ears decided to break. I don't know how to explain it more than that because I was so focused. I'm like, wait, what did she say? Say it again. She had to say it twice, but she said, since February of 2023, dental is no longer considered for anything related to credit billing. And I'm like, huh? So to explain it, she said, gosh, I said it wrong, that any dental debt does not affect credit. And I'm like, so we're good? It didn't touch our credit? I was like, a small child just hanging on to her every word. And she's like, no, it does not. And so I hope that helps while we're dealing with all this. I'm like, it helps. Thank you. And so immediately I'm texting my husband in all caps. And so anyways, that was delightful. But obviously we have the task at hand regardless of there's obviously this balance. And as well as the fact that we also have debt collectors breathing down our neck and threatening to sue us in 10 days. And they are separate from the root canal place. So that even if we were happy dandy at the root canal place in whatever regards, it doesn't matter because they sold our debt to the debt collectors. And how does that work exactly? Good question. I might be misspeaking, but from what I understand is any like old debt, bad debt, stuff like that from businesses, they can sell it to debt collectors honestly, they sell it to debt collectors for like really cheap. And the debt collectors, like, I guess, probably pay them for it. But then the debt collectors can, like, jack up the price and call it interest or whatever. And that's why it's more expensive. And I don't know. But that's kind of the general idea. And so part of the conversation throughout all this from the root canal place was saying, that's from so long ago. Like, we already sold it to the debt collectors. There's nothing we can do. And so, fun fact, friends, use ChatGPT and Gemini and all the other AIs for your legal woes. Yeah, it's not going to be 100% great, but it'll make you feel better. And because I had done that, and ChatGPT or Gemini that I was using, I have a Pixel phone. Love it. No regrets. Anyway, Gemini was being my best friend legally because I was telling Gemini all of the scenario. And Gemini was reporting back being like, even if they say they sold it at a debt, that is still on them as a legal business. And I don't know, maybe I'll have lawyers listen to this one day and they can reply to me and let me know. But that Gemini was wrong. I don't know. But that Gemini was just saying, no, they need to stand behind their business practice. Like, that's on them. If they decided to sell it, that's okay. But, like, they screwed up. Like, that's on them. That's not you, in regards to not uploading the insurance explanation of benefits. And so I was feeling a little bit better because of Gemini in general. Then I heard the credit thing. And so now I'm just like, all right, well, that leaves us the fact that the debt collectors are still going to hound us and try to sue us. Even if it doesn't affect our debt, they're still on our tails about it. And so we need that for them to be called off of our tails, along with we need the root canal place to upload the explanation of benefits so it can be processed. But in order for it to be once it's uploaded, that the secondary has insurance, they were saying that it takes 4 to 5 business days. And I'm like, haha. And then in 5 days, we will be sued. So it's just like the timeline for this was so tight where I'm just like, I was just sweating bullets about it. And so obviously I'm talking to the manager still as she is waiting, and she had put me on a hold because she was talking to the billing girl who was on the phone with the debt collector agency, I guess, that I don't know. It was kind of confusing to me, but she was reaching out to them to figure out what needed to be done or could be done. And I never heard what that entailed. I don't know if that means that they had to then also pay the debt collector or give the debt collector their money back because they had bought the debt. Or I don't even know how it ended up because that's not my business. But when I was transferred finally to billing girl number 2, and she was ready to talk to me because she had talked to the debt collectors and cleared whatever conversation that needed to be had with them. Our conversation was less than 2 minutes, and she said, "Hey, I just want you to know I spoke with the debt collector, and we are going to go ahead and just write this off as bad debt and move forward amicably, and we are just going to move past this and just know that you are no longer liable or being held for the remaining charges, and that the debt collectors are aware of that and they will no longer be contacting you in regards to it." And I'm like, it's a Christmas miracle. And my friends, that was the most obnoxious, stressful 48 hours of my life this past week. If you are still listening, thank you. I know not maybe the most exciting gossip, but if it helps anyone that has remotely been involved in anything similar with insurance, I feel for you because it was ridiculous. Here I was raising my toddler that didn't even exist when this originally all went down, the first root canal procedure. And I am running around stressing out about something, like being sued about something that I didn't even realize existed for the start of my week. And that was lovely, but not as lovely as the wonderful, who I would imagine was the owner, who looked at the situation and said, "Hey y'all, this be cray cray. How about we say bye-bye to this baby and send her on her way. Sorry, that was annoying. And so literally, I think that's probably how it went down. Like I said, they're rich. These doctors are rich guys. And I can say that because I've worked for a couple. But they just see how it is, and they're like, this is insane. But I don't know. Obviously, I'm not saying all girls are bad, but a lot of them are really dramatic when it comes to the workplace and stuff like that. So I would imagine a couple of them were like looking at me and being like, this is a you problem, not a me problem. And in reality, it's like, no, this was a you guys problem because you didn't upload the stupid explanation of benefits. So anyway, it definitely was a lot of life lessons learned. I always hate going through crap like this, but I always do come out, I guess, a little wiser. Not that I sound wiser at all through all my trauma, but just with maturing and knowing what's right, what's wrong, and being able to stand up for yourself and kind of do the research. And it's so stressful in the moment, though. So anyway, any sort of legal woes, I feel for y'all. Feel free to message me. I'll talk your ear off about it. Because, oh my gosh, it's insane. But yeah, definitely hit up your ChatGPT and Gemini and all that, because it definitely helped when you can use like the talk to speech function, and that was really helpful because I basically said everything that I said today to the Gemini software, and they gave me some good, not official, unofficial advice, legal advice. So love that for them, and me especially. But overall, it was a win for everybody. I will never step foot back in that place. If I have 10 root canals, I will go somewhere else. As for the actual root canal procedures, I mean, from what I understand, my husband hasn't had pain since, so that's good. But as I said at the beginning, I had no interest in throwing down any businesses or the insurances or whatever, so that's why I kept things very anonymous. I think that's very amicable in the fact that we ended things amicably. There's our $10 word. Anyway, so I was happy things ended well for everyone. I thought it was absolutely bonkers that I haven't talked to any of these people. I mean, I barely talked to them besides the day of the root canal, you know? You sign in and do the teeth stuff, and then you leave kind of thing. And then years later, once you have a kid and toddler and a whole life, then you get a bill multiple years later and then gonna be sued for it. So yay! So knock on wood, this never, ever, ever happens again. I think it will make me super paranoid whenever we get bills now, so love that. But at least I will be more on top. I don't know. It wasn't my error. That's all I could say. I was about to say I'll be more on top of it, but it was not my error. So I don't know. The one thing that I'm pretty sure somebody was talking to me about it, and they were like, well, what, do you not check your bills? And I'm like, that has nothing to do with it. And I did deep dive the mailing. I talked to insurance. I talked to the root canal place of where they sent notice. But the irony was that we had moved that exact same month, as well as we had informed the post office to forward anything for the time being to the new address. And so it's funny that because even the root canal, one of the chicks was like, well, they're not always reliable, and that's not going to be on us. I'm like, and you think it's going to be on me? Like, oh my gosh, some of the justification was hilarious. But anyway, that just take this with a grain of salt and empower your own experiences if you ever come across situations like this, because the more research you do, the better. And you got it. So there's your inspiration for the week. I am Haley Jensen, and I fought a root canal place and won. Hip hip hooray! It was their fault. But yeah. Anyway, I am so sorry. We'll have a better episode next week. But this one is juicy in regards to my anxiety, so y'all are welcome. Hope you guys had so much fun as watching my demise was today, but I will talk to you next time. Please follow the Instagram, DM me with anything exciting in your life. I am on TikTok, I'm on YouTube. We're doing it all now. It's been fun. So, till next time, have a great rest of your day and week. Love you lots. Bye.